Hello and welcome to Nice and Blunt. We're back on YouTube for another live stream. We're going to do some interesting teams tonight, at least some different types of tournaments, maybe some smaller sized lobbies, and maybe a super flex as well. We're not quite sure as of yet, but let's get it started. Let's go. And we're back with the pipe as well. Hitting the pipe before we start this thing off. It's been a while since I've smoked on the channel, on the live stream in general. It's good to have this back as an option. So here we go. We're going to, I think, enter the Badge Bros tournament, the Badge Bros Brawl, 6-person draft. So same size roster, but the amount of players we're going to draft total is going to be a lot more shallow. And I think with 216 normally, that's going to be about 108 picks overall. So we can get off the board. We can avoid a lot of names we really don't want to. And this will be a slightly better odds to advance. Technically, in the regular season, the odds are the same. 2 out of 12 generally. Now it's 1 out of 6. So your odds don't increase. Still about 16, 17% to advance. But then if you advance, you have a 20% odd of advancing in the playoffs. In weeks 15, 1 out of 5 get to move ahead, 1 out of 5 in week 16 as well. And then a 375 seat final in this tournament with 500K available, I think gives you some pretty solid return on investment if you do make it to the final. That's $250 off a $10 entry just for getting last place in week 17. If you do end up in the top 20, you get $1,000, and then first prize all the way up there at 100K. I think the return element of this tournament makes it very interesting. And even though we're going to be drafted on the fly, maybe a different strategy with a 6-person lobby, I think we're going to get a really good team no matter what, and we're going to feel excited either way. So let's do it. $10 is what it takes. If you want to draft with me, go ahead and join me. Hit that button on the Badge Bros Brawl. I will hop in 3, 2, 1, and hopefully I'm not boxed out by the location. Fetching our draft. There are 3 spots left. If you want one, come and get it. If not, if you just want to spectate, of course, that's fine too. And if you got anything, smoke it if you got it. It's officially July 17th. Time to lock in. We got the Hall of Fame game, actual NFL being played in just 2 weeks. And there's also training camps about to open up. This shit's about to get real, and I'm here for it. So we are locking in. Still 2 spots left, so might take a minute to fill. Who knows? In the meantime, if you have any questions, if you have any comments, concerns, anything you want to bounce off my opinion, go ahead and leave me a comment. If you're new to the channel, go ahead and subscribe so that you won't miss out on other content or just the ability to, I guess, comment in the live chat. And as we get through this, if you're liking the stream, if you're liking the team, then go ahead and hit that like button as well. Thanks for joining me. Very late night stream. We don't usually draft this late. If anything, I'm usually logging off by now. But played some golf, had some dinner, home, and I'm on the West Coast. So it's not as late for me as it might be for you if you live in, I don't know, Virginia, hypothetically, or Carolina, wherever you're watching from. If it's in the U.S. and it's not Hawaii or Alaska, then it's only 10:30 at the earliest. But maybe this lobby will take a while to fill. Who knows? We might be sitting here for a minute. So I'm not going to stress too much. Maybe we dip over to... Oh, yeah, there was some news today. We should probably talk about some news today, because Xavier Worthy, I think, jumps into the top 20 wide receivers today with the news about Rashee Rice. And just as we start to pivot, this lobby is full. We do get pick 5, and maybe I don't have enough time to really talk about it. But if Rashee Rice is going to miss 5 games, maybe 6, I think at least 4 based on the issue he's dealing with, he's going to have a hard time getting firmly entrenched in the offense when he returns. I assume it's going to be the month of September and into October when he's not there. It's going to give Worthy the chance to really shine. Worthy was a first-round pick. Rashee Rice was not. I think he was a third-rounder, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe just a second. But Rashee Rice was drafted. Come on, load. In round 2, pick 24 of the second round 2 years ago. And it's now going to be a full calendar year before he steps on the field. The offense is much different. I wouldn't expect that elite contribution. But when he does come back, it's going to be a mix and match grab bag every week of different players. They're all going to lose a little value. They're going to be more volatile. I think in fantasy, not going to be dying to draft them, start them no matter what. I think there could be some games that burn you because it's just a weird target share in Kansas City. But I'm very convinced that Worthy is going to be a worthwhile draft pick and definitely moves up the board with this news. But at running back, I'm a little worried that Team 6 is going to double tap the position. And so I will grab Jahmyr Gibbs and just move on with my life. Extremely high floor. And I think in this smaller pool contest, while yes, it's really tempting to grab CMC, I think I'm going to take him. Should I? I mean, running back's still going to look decent on the way back. Meanwhile, the difference between Puka and maybe missing out on Ladd would be brutal. Yeah, let's be a little more balanced. Let's go Puka. Not going to be upset with Puka. There's reason to believe Puka is the wide receiver 1 this year. So let's just take Puka. Keep it balanced. That team goes Derrick Henry, CMC. I mean, to already get Jahmyr Gibbs as running back 4 feels like a value. And given I have not done a single one of these 6-team drafts, let's prioritize a player in the top 6 at his respective position over the second option at that position on this team, because we're still going to get really good running back. Like if I'm getting Bucky Irving or Josh Jacobs here at pick 17, I'm very happy. Like we did see Brock Bowers and Trey McBride go off the board. Was hoping a tight end would still be there so that I could push for another round. But I think the tier break with George Kittle in a 6-team league is massive. And this way we can pretty much ignore that position all draft if we want. I don't think it's that critical to have a backup tight end in this scenario because I think the roster is just a little bit different. You still have to start a tight end every week? You do. Yeah. So to prevent that from being, okay, we're still on the clock and nothing really changed. Quarterback. Yeah, I'll go Jaden Daniels. I'm going to prioritize the onesie positions in this setting because the difference between like quarterback 12 and quarterback 20 is not that big of a deal. And so to be stuck starting those guys on a rotation in your lineup on a week-to-week basis really puts you at a disadvantage to the teams that are getting the elite of the elite quarterback. So if we can have a shot at a QB that averages 25 points, give us an excuse to thin out the bench if we really want to, that's also really nice. And yeah, I think in this setting, I'm willing to push QB2 almost to the last round probably, because I still think there's going to be some really good depth there. But to have a difference maker in the top 3 with this level of rushing appeal does feel like a strong case to be made. So we went extremely balanced, one at every position. We've got an elite tight end, George Kittle, an elite QB, Jaden Daniels, elite running back, Jahmyr Gibbs, an elite wide receiver in Puka. And we're sitting here at pick 29. Genty has an AGP of 12, and he's still on the board. I'm going to take Ashton Genty as my running back too. I'm going to feel really good about that. Running back dries up much faster in a 6-person league. Wide receiver is deep as fuck. So we have our anchor with Puka. Tyreek just went off the board. And there's no way I was grabbing Rashee Rice at top of ADP after what happened today. So Yeah, give me Genty for sure. I'd rather have Genty than Jacobs and Taylor, as well as Chase Brown. But Bucky Irving did fall. I technically do have Bucky ranked one spot above, but the injury to Tristan Wirfs has me kind of backtracking that call, in all honesty. But here we are once again, and we're entering a new tier at running back. So I'm gonna, I think I'm gonna push it. I think they might fade Hampton just a tick. There's a team with 4 running backs already. Let's grab Davante Adams. Let's grab that Puka Adams combo. And unfortunately, my top 4 picks at running back and wide receiver all have a week 8 bye. That's not great, but it's really not the end of the world. We'll be perfectly fine otherwise. But once Ladd McConkey's off the board, at wide receiver 12, I do have Davante Adams ranked the highest. That is my position. And another incentive is that we are once again investing in the Rams offense. So Stafford would be a great backup on this team, assuming that Ram stack is what we need. But I feel good about this team, and I think we can still get Hampton, who I really want, coming back at 41. The team after us only has Bucky, so definitely, Hampton gets sniped. Bummer. But running back is about to thin out, and I see a big difference between James Cook and the rest. I will grab James Cook and probably pair him with Ray Davis later, just so I never have to worry about that position on this roster, because it's going to thin out, and I think Ray Davis as a backup is valuable. But yeah, receivers still really, really deep at the moment. If JSN is there, I'm going to really like this team. And he is. Sweet. So played that very well. That team with only 1 running back grabs both. And we get ahead of, yes, Dragonheart. We avoid the RB dead zone. Maybe you consider James Cook in the RB dead zone, but I do not. I think having the Bills RB1 is very valuable. And the only thing I want to add is I plan to play it safe and grab Ray Davis, who may go undrafted. There's only 108 picks in this draft. Ray Davis might also give us a very unique value that is often dismissed. But running back dries up far faster than any position. I mean, I guess not as fast as tight end, but the difference between running back 24 and 35 is a massive cliff. Meanwhile, wide receiver just has a massive gulf of similarly valued players. Did Worthy get... Yeah, I think Worthy already came off the board. He did. Where did he go in this? 45, right after I take JSN. Yeah, I understand that. Metcalf off the board. And again, running back is drying up fast. But I don't see any difference between almost any of these receivers. So again, I know that team behind me at this turn was a little desperate for running back recently. I will again get ahead of him. And he goes Laporta, TJ Hawkinson. Very interesting. Glad to have Kelsey. We don't need to reach on. Glad to have Kittle, I meant. But I think now I'll get back to running to receiver. Yeah, I'm not going to force it there. I'm going to go Jameson Williams for the pure upside. A player with tremendous speed, can score from anywhere on the field. I also have Jahmyr Gibbs. So if I want, I can also grab a Jared Goff on this team. But JMO has that league-winning value in best ball where 1 week he might give you 5 points, and then the next week he'll give you 28. And we need spike weeks to crack this roster. So we've got Puka Nacua, Davante Adams, JSN, and Jameson Williams at receiver. Tight end, we're rolling with George Kittle. Running back, we have Jahmyr Gibbs, Ashton Genty, James Cook, and Trayvon Henderson so far. Really feeling confident with that quartet. And then Jaden Daniels as well at quarterback, currently unstacked. But we could go Debo in a round or two. Not at this turn, though. I don't think I'm need to force it with Debo at the moment. Running back is kind of last call. I could kind of go David Montgomery. I'm kind of interested in Montgomery here, but my rankings don't have it that way. I'm not going to play it safe. We're going to bet that Gibbs is that guy and he's elite. He's not going to miss any time. There's no reason to have Montgomery. And then Swift fucking really hits his ceiling with Ben Johnson in Chicago. I do have Swift ranked just above Montgomery, straight up. So let's stick with the younger guy. Angus agrees. I think no to Monty as well. And then I think here is where I will ignore the 6th wide receiver, and then it. Oh, shit. Nah, I'm gonna take Pickens. I'll go George Pickens. Rome was just too unreliable last year to draft above Pickens. And even though Pickens is actually kind of overrated if you really look at his raw numbers, the scenario where CeeDee Lamb gets hurt puts Pickens in top 5 ceiling. You know, like that's just something I can't dismiss. And I think I've been ignoring that fact for a while. But if we have any missed time by CeeDee Lamb, the ceiling on George Pickens is through the roof. That is going to be a desperate offense as the season progresses. I could see him being a big headache and it actually absolutely blowing up in your face. I could see Pickens be trash in fantasy. But in best ball, I think he's worth it and undeniable league-winning potential. If CeeDee Lamb goes down. Also, it looks like Rome is coming back to us. That's always nice. But there's a bit of a run on QB. Interesting that Dave Montgomery did not get chosen. I'm gonna go with Rome Odunze. We almost took him at the last round. Available at 77. And it also, I think Caleb Williams is still available. So I can go Caleb. I can go Jared Goff. I can go Matt Stafford. Probably don't want to queue him up, though. That feels unwise. And then, I mean, he's kind of staring me in the face. I could go David Montgomery, but that feels excessive. Instead, let's just take Debo, lock up the Jaden Daniels stack. And this is round 14. I've got Puka, Adams, JSN, Jameson Williams, George Pickens, Rome Odunze, Debo Samuel. I think knowing the cliff at receiver, I'm comfortable with those 7 and stopping here. I think I can get away with that. We have 5 running backs, but only 1 QB and 1 tight end. I need a backup of those, and there's only 4 rounds left. So don't go crazy at receiver, even though the value's there. Having Debo locks up the stack and just like kind of bookends me mentally. I can be done at that position. Well, we're good. Okay, so running back, QB, and tight end are the considerations. And for Kelsey to be sitting there with the Rashee Rice news, it's a little tempting, not going to lie. But I think I'd rather have Caleb Williams when I have both Swift and Rome Odunze. Kelsey goes, so that saves me for myself. Could also take Goff, but I think Caleb has the higher ceiling, especially with the rushing upside, even though Goff was way, way better last year. Might take both. I think first I'm going to go Caleb. I'm going to let it time out. Because this opens me up to Colston Loveland as the backup to Kittle. And that feels like a good player to pair up with Kittle. Because Kittle's going to be elite ceiling, a few random like 30-yard games. And if we ever like need anyone to contribute, it's going to be someone that has like 20+ point upside. Loveland is, I think, one of the few players that does have that available to him. So we'll queue up Loveland, but I think I will take Jared Goff. I think the flexibility of the 3 QB build in this, I think, is worth it. Maybe it's more interesting and necessary if you don't have a guy like Jaden Daniels. I might be going overkill here, but there is the world where Caleb sucks again, is complete trash, like he was last year. I think he has like 30-point upside. We know Goff has 30-point upside, but they swap play callers. I guess one of them swaps play callers. The Lions did not bring in, oh, I'm already forgetting his name, but former Seahawks OC with Pete Carroll. Man, he got fired fast last year. I just left my brain. Can't imagine anyone's bringing him in. Don't even know what to. I totally forgot his name. But yeah, he's not the Lions OC. Gonna go Loveland. I only have 2 picks left. So George Kittle, Colston Loveland at tight end. QB Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, Jared Goff. Running back Jahmyr Gibbs, Ashton Jeanty, James Cook, Trayvon Henderson, DeAndre Swift. And then receiver Puka, Adams, JSN, JMO, George Pickens, Rome Odunze, Deebo Samuel. I will be grabbing a 6th running back with this final pick. And like I mentioned, we're going to try and get unique with it and insert someone I know can have access to the same ceiling as James Cook, honestly, if he is the starter. A 1-for-1 replacement, in my opinion, and just locking up 85% of the Bills' touches minimum. I'll grab Ray Davis here to handcuff James Cook as my RB6. I mean, the reason I don't give myself 100% of Buffalo is because Ty Johnson could factor in minimally, not in a way that I'm worried about, but what I think makes this team really strong is if we do get last year's James Cook production at the flex. If we get 18 touchdowns out of just one Bills running back again, let alone the extra touchdowns for Ray Davis, I think he had 6 touchdowns. So combined 24 touchdowns. If we can lock that up once again at our flex in Buffalo, we're in tremendous shape. So really like this team. I think there's no way to not like your team in this type of format, but I think because of the knowledge that there would be depth later at running back and wide receiver, to prioritize Kittle and Jaden Daniels, both top 3 at their position, I think gives this team the truly elite upside that we're hoping for. And then I think I just lucked out on Jeanty. I think Jeanty fell too far in this draft. He went 15 picks, 14 slots after Chase Brown. Meanwhile, in a regular 12-person league, his ADP is almost 15 picks above Chase Brown. So I don't know what the fuck happened here at running back. Once A-Chain went off the board, it's like nobody scrolled up to the top. To get Jeanty at 29, I think is a massive value. Paired with James Cook, paired with Swift. We did not grab Monty. Instead, we grabbed Ray Davis at 104. And then the receiver depth of Puka, Adams, JSN, Jameson Williams, George Pickens, Rome Odunze, Deebo Samuel, I think is really solid. Part of me kind of wishes I went with Matthew Stafford as the 3rd quarterback, though. I think I kind of forgot about my initial start of Puka and Adams, but Stafford wasn't anywhere near as valuable as Goff last year. So Caleb Williams has far more rushing value. I think I'm happy with what we did, but will it work? I have no idea. I think it's more dependent on health than having an elite looking roster as of today, because I'm sure I'm going to pull up the other teams in this, and everyone's gonna have a good team. Like Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Justin Fields. Yeah, that's fucking awesome. Taylor, Chuba, Kamara, Caleb Johnson, David Montgomery. Not as good as my running back core, but still fucking loaded. Wide receiver, Jamar Chase, Drake London, Garrett Wilson, Ricky Pearsall, Chris Godwin, Jaden Reed, Jordan Addison. At the top, I'd say it's better than my receiving core. And then it has Brock Bowers, Evan Ingram. Yeah, that's a better tight end core than I have at team 1. Team 2 goes Hurts, Kyler, Drake May. So glad I'm not the only one with elite QB also grabbing 3. That makes me feel better about that Goff pick. But Bijan, Brees, RJ Harvey, Judkins, and Pollard. Obviously that's good. And then Brian Thomas, Lad McConkey, Marvin Harrison, Tet, Rashee Rice, Devontae Smith. So still took Rashee Rice over Devontae Smith. I would not do that. Travis Hunter at 71, and then has McBride, Goddard, Tyler Warren. And then I'm sure it's the same with the other 2. Is there a team I'm less interested in? I think this team went a little overboard at receiver. Didn't grab the second tight end. I think that's easy to maybe fall into the trap of like forgetting that this is the last round. Yeah, only 1 tight end. That I'm a bit worried about. And then QB Baker Mahomes, it's still great. And then lastly, Lamar, Dak Prescott, CJ Stroud, Bucky, Kenneth Walker, Joe Mixon, Pacheco, Brian Robinson, Tyjae Spears. And then at receiver, Jefferson, Lamb, Nico, T. Higgins, DJ Moore, Waddle, Olave, Laporta, and TJ Hawkinson at tight end. Yeah, every team is good. Maybe I'm not envious of the team with only 1 tight end though. That's probably the only thing. But that might work. That could also work. So, yeah, weird, but fun tournament to enter. And like I said at the top, the ROI I think is pretty solid. If you make the final, you get at least $250. Shot at 100K, and then your odds to get there are basically 20% in each round. Hard to beat on Underdog. Pretty much as good as it can get. So that'll be the only one I do on this live stream. Kind of a very unique scenario. And then let me know what you guys want. I'm either going to do the 4-person rookie and sophomore draft for $5, or we'll hop into the German Shepherd Superflex. I think I'm more likely to do the German Shepherd, but we got 10 people watching. Let me know what you guys want. I'll happily abide by the chat's preference. But I think if I had to choose one, I'd go German Shepherd. But the rookies and sophomores, I think, could be really, really fun. I'll give it a minute. If you guys don't have a preference, then I'll just hop in to, I think, the German Shepherd. But let it rip. Also, if you got it, smoke it if you got it. No one no one has a preference. All right. Let's do German Shepherd. That I at least have some experience in terms of the Superflex format. So you can start up to 2 quarterbacks. It's really important to look at the rules on this one, and the roster setting is the most important thing to look at. So you start 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers. So one of the receiver spots normally on Underdog becomes a super flex position, which can be every single spot. So not only does quarterback have more value, especially because quarterbacks have the highest ceiling overall, but technically an elite tight end backup is valuable because they can also enter your roster, not just in the flex spot, but the super flex spot. Granted, how many tight ends are giving you 25 points instead of a quarterback? Much different scenario. But receiver gets far less valuable because you can also get away with just starting 2 in your roster. So elite running backs have, 30-point ceilings as well. I think having very good depth at running back as a safety insurance policy to start at Superflex instead of receiver, I think really punches up running back values in these super flex formats. Now, I can't say my strategy is like guaranteed a lock, but whenever I have had success in these super flex tournaments, it's because I've coveted quarterback early, like 2 in the first 3 rounds, and then I also have really prioritized high end running back depth over wide receiver depth. That's when I've had success. Personally, I think you can still make other strategies work, but I'm going to be gladly fading receiver compared to a typical underdog draft, heavily favoring quarterback, and also heavily favoring running back, with some consideration towards more valuable tight ends as well. But that's it in terms of talking strategy. Before we hop in, if you do want to join me, you can. It's a $5 entry open to everyone. If you can draft on Underdog in one of those states, you can draft with me. So hit that button right now if you do want to do that. If you want to join me before my delay kicks in, and I can join right now. And hopefully those times are synced up. 7 spots left if you would like one. But it is late. That is a good reminder why these are maybe taking some extra time to fill. But Cobra asking how many rounds is the rookies and sophomores with only 4 drafters? I can't imagine it's that deep. But only 4 drafters. It's probably another like 15 rounds. For maybe. No, I got to check. I don't want to make things up. The roster has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, plus 7 on the bench. So 12 rounds. 12 rounds, 4 teams, a total of 48 players drafted. Strictly rookies and sophomores. I kind of want to open. Let's take a look at the ADP first. So here's the rookies and sophomores ADP. We got Ashton Jeanty at the 101, then Jaden Daniels. Yeah, I understand that. With only 4 teams, it kind of falls off after Jaden Daniels with just Bo Nix and Caleb Williams. But Neighbors, Brian Thomas, Bucky Irving, Ladd McConkey, Brock Bowers. Oh, it's combined wide receiver tight end in that slot. That makes a lot of sense. Bo Nix, Marvin Harrison. Harrison's going high. Damn. I don't know if I'd do that. I'm a Harrison hater this year. Fading Harrison heavily this year. Hampton, Caleb, Drake May. Oh yeah, I guess quarterback's a little deeper than I thought, but Penix, Cam Ward. After that, there's no one. Unless you're taking like Joe Milton with some high hopes. But I got the 8th pick in this super flex format, so that's kind of a bummer. That's one reason why I'm not like dying to draft like crazy in the super flex formats. I think if you have a top 3 pick, you have a big advantage over the rest of the crowd. Because the way the ADP works, you're always getting a good quarterback available, even in like the 3rd round. And the difference between like Josh Allen and Kyler Murray as your QB1 is such a big difference. Was Darrell Bevell the OC? No, I'm gonna Google it. Yeah, I should know this, but no, I would recognize that name. Chicago Bears OC 2024. Shane Waldron. Shane Waldron. Rough offense with Shane Waldron in Chicago. Not envious of last year's Bears offense. That's for sure. And then it was like just compounded even worse. Like they upgraded someone to OC that was already unqualified, not enough experience. And then like 2 weeks later, they fire Eberflus and make that guy who's in charge of the offense now the head coach in charge of the whole fucking team. No wonder they lost like 10 games straight. Shocking that they did beat the Packers at the end of the year in week 18, but the Packers did bench their starters after like 2 drives. So not as valuable, but still they did at least win a game in Lambeau. That's not something you can say very often. Um, I will take Bijan here. I think having Bijan is more valuable than Mahomes. I think whoever comes back to me at quarterback is still still very solid. Meanwhile, I mentioned at length how I'm prioritizing running back at Superflex as well. So, um, give me Bijan Robinson for sure over Patrick Mahomes, especially with the Rashee Rice news. Fuck no. If he's there back in round two at 17, then I think he's fair game. But at this moment in time, with Burrow off the board, I don't see a big difference between Mahomes and Baker, and I could see Baker wrap back around. Mahomes goes at the turn. I think that team has to take a quarterback, so makes sense. But if Rashee Rice misses 5 games, I don't think you can justify Mahomes as quarterback 6. He's been brutal the last 2 years in terms of return on investment. Has not finished top 10 in either season. I wouldn't want that. Bo Nix off the board. We will go Baker. I think Baker's the safest bet among the names remaining. There's potentially a higher ceiling, but Baker just put up the same stat line as like Joe Burrow practically. 4,500 yards passing, 41 touchdowns, another 378 rushing yards, and 3 rushing touchdowns. A fantastic season from Baker. They add Emeka Egbuka. Mike Evans still with the team. And Chris Godwin will miss some time, but maybe not more than like 8 weeks. And we also saw Jalen McMillan fucking ball out in place of Chris Godwin. So, Bucky Irving should be better. Even without Liam Cohen, I'm not terrified. The only kind of concern, since we're talking about offensive coordinators as well, do you remember how the Liam Cohen situation with Jacksonville happened? It was not like a normal coaching scenario. Like they interviewed him and they like offered him the job, and then the Jaguars GM like butchered the relationship or whatever, couldn't close the deal. And then Liam Cohen like late in the coaching interview process backed out and went back to Tampa Bay. So anyone that Tampa Bay was like interviewing to replace Liam Cohen, if that was their first choice, they probably took a job elsewhere. And then like 3 days later, after the Jags like fired the GM that botched this situation, then Liam Cohen comes back with the Jags and says peace out to Tampa. So like because of how quickly things move in that like week of the year on those NFL coaching jobs, like I really doubt that the Bucks got their number one candidate to replace him because of them saying, nope, never mind, we're sticking with Cohen, and those guys taking other jobs. Then, 3 days later, it's like, oh fuck, we do have to hire someone else. Hold on. I'm gonna go Michael Penix here. Oh, Drake London was just taken. That's a bummer. Um, yeah, quarterback's starting to thin out, and he stacks up with Bijan. Bijan does catch passes. So, unfortunately, London not off the board, gets taken before both Brian Thomas and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Really hoping that Brian Thomas circles back. Hard to pass on Brian Thomas here, but there was a very big run at quarterback. There's not much more depth. And I think the difference between Michael Penix as our QB2 on this team and like Geno Smith or Sam Darnold, I think that's a real big difference maker. So give me Michael Penix. And we always have Darnell Mooney as well later on. But a bummer that this team takes Drake London. I kind of assumed London would still maybe be available. But Brian Thomas goes 35. That's who I wanted. We can still hopefully get A.J. Brown. I'd like to have a good anchor receiver. So either A.J. Brown or McConkey, I'm really hoping are there. And I think so. I think these next two teams with two receivers do pass. At least I'm hoping that's the case. Um, Kind of just a bad luck in terms of pick 8. I think the slot you're in matters so much more in these super flex leagues. Dev says I've been victory lapping the Richie Rice news all day. I will admit I am pretty underweight Richie Rice, so it I get bailed out. I was a bit worried, but mainly due to FOMO of the ADP getting out of hand. I will go AJ Brown. I kind of want to go Josh Jacobs, honestly, but nah. Yeah, with AJ Brown, I have more of a liberty to grab a lot of running backs coming up in the next few rounds, whereas I'm gonna feel like I need to catch up a little bit at receiver, but I can pass on receiver for at least 3 picks when I have AJ Brown as the number one option. Again, we only have to start 2 in this format at a minimum because of the super flex settings. Not gonna stress receiver if I don't have to, but there I do think it was a tier break proposition. Reflect the Sun cannot get on the Mahomes bounce back train. Honestly, my Chiefs hatred, my proud fading of Kansas City has really paid off, you know. I mean, maybe I wish I had a bit more Xavier Worthy, but when Rashee Rice comes back, there's nothing locked in either. But if there was one player I wanted a bit more of, he's been falling lately. It's probably Worthy. We kind of almost like not necessarily forgot, but like kind of dismissed the suspension risk with Rashee Rice. Like once there was the news that he was practicing healthy, it was like, yeah, he's a clear and obvious pick, but at the end of the day, you can put him in the same category as Jordan Addison, who's going end of round 5 as opposed to end of round 2. Rashee Rice just comes off the board at 51. Be my guest. And then who knows if there's another player that might get suspended. But he's also in the same category as Chris Godwin and Brandon Ayuk due to his injury last year. And both of those guys are also going at a big discount, expecting to miss time in the 5th round with Godwin, I guess 6th round with Godwin, and then sometimes late 8th round with Ayuk. Granted, we didn't think he would miss time since he was practicing, but then here it is, missing at least 4 to 6 games probably with a suspension. That's not good. I will take Omarion Hampton, though, for sure. Running back is a needy position to take in these settings. Darnold and Rodgers still there. Kind of feel like with Baker and Penix, I would be happy to have a third, but I think I might be able to push it for Daniel Jones because let's see, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 3, 3, 1, 2. That team with Kyler though. The team with only Kyler probably double taps, and Rodgers and Darnold are off the board already. So, yeah, I might have to do it. Don't really want to grab Daniel Jones that high, but he's not going to come back around. Sweet. Team 12, Dingus only goes with 2 QBs. What am I passing on at running back? A pretty decent tier at running back. Shit. And then at receiver, what am I passing on? No, I'm not dying to draft receiver right now. And then tight end, what's the deal? Okay, we missed on the edge at tight end. I'm gonna go Daniel Jones. I think Baker Michael Penix is not good enough to only want two in the Superflex league. I'll go Daniel Jones. Bijan Hampton at running back. That's pretty nice. Quarterback Baker Mayfield, Michael Penix, and Daniel Jones. I think we can call it a day. And then at receiver, we have AJ Brown. But top of ADP is still Mike Evans. So receiver's still very deep. And yeah, that I'm not jealous of team 1. Team 7, excuse me. With only Kyler Murray quarterback. That is not the move in my opinion in Superflex. And then they also favored receiver with London, Harrison, and T. Higgins. But they do have Bowers. At least they have Bowers, but gonna be rough. Okay, so what I want to see is a lot of orange coming off the board. Based on the strategy I used, I'd love to see a lot of orange and still have a good running back value at pick 80. But I think we will. I think the tier that's currently going is relatively deep for the moment. But there's 6 picks left. There's 6 players. There's only 5 players I really want. Um, so I could get screwed. Several of these teams only have one running back. But at least we got Bijan and Hampton, where if worst case scenario does happen, I'm not devastated. But as long as these next 4 picks are not running backs as well, I'm in the clear. I doubt that'll happen. Yeah, we're good. Devontae Smith off the board. And then what about the side after me? Okay, there's a team with no running back. Definitely want to get ahead of them. Yeah, running back's definitely the pick here. If they have 2 and not a single running back yet, got to play the board. I'm gonna take Joe Mixon, and I'd be ecstatic if one of these rookies makes it back to me. But kind of tempting to take Worthy here, honestly. If not for that team at 10 with no running backs yet, I would probably take Xavier Worthy there instead. But want to I want to be drafting at the beginning of a run at a certain position when I know scarcity is a factor. Um, while there is a tier break for Worthy and any other receiver on the board, I think there's a bigger, more important tier break between Mixon and if we get stuck with Caleb Johnson at the top of ADP, which is what the trend indicates. Swift goes. That's not great. I mean, Pacheco's still there. Aaron Jones off the board. Um, I will be honest, this Flowers value I think is really, really tempting. I do already have 3 running backs, so it's not that bad. I feel safer with Flowers than I do Pacheco, so um, yeah, we'll grab Flowers. Flowers I view in this like George Pickens tier. Granted, Pickens goes 74. We get Flowers at 89. And Ridley, I think, also kind of a tier break option. Um, Waddle's interesting, but I don't know. They bring in Darren Waller. The vibes in Miami are off, just in general. And Waddle just sucked last year. Flowers was really good, granted volatile, but in best ball, that's kind of what you prefer. And there's a world where Flowers triples his touchdowns. Like last year, Rashad Bateman had 9 touchdowns. Flowers had 4. Mark Andrews also had 11. Like, you're telling me you can't take like like 5 touchdowns from Bateman, give him to Zay Flowers, and then take like 2 or 3 touchdowns from Andrews and give him to Flowers as well. Like, he just needs to break a few tackles and a few things to fall in the right direction. Flowers can absolutely crush because he's going to go over 1,000 yards again. That's kind of the baseline you're getting from guys like Garrett Wilson, Terry McLaurin. And although the touchdowns haven't been there, like, that's just one good series of events, away from turning into 12 touchdowns. He had 4 last year. I think he had 4 the year before. So in a way, he's like the new DJ Moore, because DJ Moore forever in Carolina could never surpass 4 touchdowns. Like, he was giving you 1,200 yards like every year, but also only 4 touchdowns. It was like, are you fucking kidding me? So I could get burned if that continues, but inevitably the touchdown number is gonna at least double. There's no way Flowers only puts up another 4 touchdowns next year. If he puts up 8, I think that'd be kind of reasonable. I'm gonna go Godwin for sure at this spot. We have Baker. Godwin was a top 3 receiver before going down last year, and the stack is 100% justified. I also don't feel a sense of urgency at any other position. Like, yeah, there's TJ Hawkinson there on the board, but I passed on Jordan Addison. I'd rather have Jordan Addison than TJ Hawkinson. Even with the potential suspension for Addison. Reflect the Sun says sometimes hard for slot guys to get the touchdowns, a bit like Shakir. A little bit. I mean, I'm not guaranteeing he cracks 10 touchdowns, but to pretend like that's impossible, is kind of naive. It's an uphill battle for sure. I understand why he goes where he goes, but there's an argument we made for him last year that puts him in the same categories like Garrett Wilson this season. Again, I don't feel compelled to draft running back, so not excited there. I think I'm gonna go Deebo. I'm starting to drink the Kool-Aid a little bit on Deebo Samuel. I've drafted him a few times, and it actually doesn't feel disgusting anymore. But what really sold me on his value is when I shit talked Brian Robinson so much. And it's like, well, why don't I like Brian Robinson? Because I don't think he's going to score as many touchdowns. Well, who's going to take him away from him? Deebo Samuel. I think his role in the run game is actually really valuable in the red zone. And they're paying him at the moment more than Terry. They're going to use him. Paul says Higgins, Flowers, Devontae Smith. Their week 17 performance the prior year determines if they go in round 3 or 5. Yeah. Yeah, it's like Marvin Mims. Like, you really want Marvin Mims more than Pat Bryant at like 4 rounds higher of a price? I don't. Marvin Mims had the same like total season points as like Devon Vele. It just happened at the right time when it really hit. and now you have to pay for it at a premium. A very good point, Paul. Yeah, T. Higgins was going as like wide receiver 26 last year. Now he's wide receiver like 13. He did crush last year, but he played like shit the year before. He wasn't even top 40 the year before. And both seasons he missed 12 he missed 5 games. He only played in 12 games each of the last 2 seasons. There's actually a lot of injury risk with T. Higgins that doesn't get talked about. But very consistent leg injuries. Hammies give him problems, and then that lingers through the whole year. There was a season 2 years ago, I think it was 2022, where on 2 occasions T. Higgins played like 3 snaps and then sat on the bench because of his hamstring. Like that's the worst scenario in season long when he starts the week and then pulls himself in the first quarter. Like, bro, just sit out. We started you in our lineup. Now you're giving us a bagel. Like, have some respect for the full game. Okay, at this discount, I think I'll go Kelce with the Rashee Rice news. I'm a little bit more comfortable with Kelce these days. In the first place, he has been falling, and after today's news, yeah, I don't see him becoming irrelevant. Now he's old as fuck. He's 35 in like 5 days. No, he turns 35 in October. But still 35 this year. Not great, but they're gonna keep him involved. They have to. If Worthy moves up, so does Kelce. Dev says Debo is my second highest owned receiver. I hope it works out for you, man. I'm starting to feel a lot more comfortable with him. And also he kind of falls to the 7th round kind of often. We take him in the 10th round, which feels hard to judge. But in this pool of receivers, I'd rather have Debo than Jerry Jeudy. I don't trust in the Browns. Jeudy's numbers were nothing special without Jameis Winston. Every good game Jeudy put up last year was with Jameis Winston. He is not there anymore. Juwan and Ricky Pearsall, I don't think are more talented than Ayuk, only going ahead of him because Ayuk is hurt. Meanwhile, Ayuk is here at the top of ADP for me if I want him. And we missed out on Mooney, so I think I'll take him. It was between Ayuk and Njoku there, but with Ayuk as my 5th receiver, fuck, I have Godwin and Ayuk on the same team. That's not good. That's not great. But I don't think I'm going to draft more than 6 receivers on this team. So to have Ayuk as the 5th with his upside, especially late in the season, that feels comfortable. I forgot I had Godwin. I don't like to take both on the same team. That's a lot of points in the first like 5 weeks that we probably get bagels out of 2 players. That's not good. I've ignored running back for a while. Usually don't do that as much in these super flex formats. But I'm not the only team that only has 3. Like team 2 only has 3, team 1 only has 3. Team 4 and 5 only have 3. Team 7 only has 2. I'm still in good shape at running back. But on the other side of the board, everybody has at least 4. Yeah, there's been a heavy focus on running back on the right side of the board. And Njoku went right after my pick, so that's who I was choosing between. Fuck this. Any reports that Debo is working out and changed his diet? I hope so for Jaden Commander's sake. Yeah, there's another picture that was released recently where he looked pretty shredded. I think just to kind of quell the talk, but anything that happens in like June is usually an overreaction. Like people just don't have enough to talk about on those sports, media platforms at that time of year. The NBA has lost a lot of steam. Baseball's like barely picking up, and even that is kind of hard to force a conversation. If you have an excuse to talk about the NFL in June, especially if they get to laugh at a player for looking fat, they'll take it. They're bored. So I think he'll be fine. He just plays so physically. He can miss time even if he's in tip top shape. That's the risk with Devo. But upside in that offense is pretty high. And as someone heavily fading Brian Robinson, those touches have to go somewhere. And I don't think they're all going to Eckler. Eckler's a big risk as well. Like Debo could also completely bury Eckler on the depth chart. Debo's a huge red flag for any Commanders running back. Think I'm gonna go Tyler Algier. Having a high-end handcuff, you know, kind of unlikely that Bijan goes down, but if he does, we know that Algier can put up like 15 points per game. Um, he's at the bottom of this tier for very good reasons, but he's not that much different than Zach Charbonnet in terms of ceiling. He's arguably more talented than Ray Davis and Tyjae Spears. And sometimes he does have like 10 touches in a game and gives you like a random like 13 pointer, even with Bijan healthy. I think Algier's a good value here. It's just the truly best case scenario is kind of hard to envision given Bijan's so young and so consistent. Bijan is 23, and I don't think he missed a single game in 2 years. But you never know. It can always happen. We also have Bijan on this team, so we just lock up every Falcons touch in the backfield. That feels good. Now it's between Eckler and Jalen Wright, and I think if I didn't have Debo and I wasn't already giving myself reasons to fade Washington, I'd probably go Eckler. But just like Tyler Algier, I do see Jalen Wright's ceiling as tremendously valuable. Now, I only have Kelsey. Tight ends kind of drying up, but at this point, I see a big difference between Jalen Wright and the rest of them at running back. Meanwhile, the difference between Hunter Henry and Cade Otton isn't like massive. Would much rather have Henry, but um, having two of these random low end tight ends is pretty solid. And right after we go Jalen Wright, there is a continued run and running back. So I think I made the right call. Henry off the board though, 166. So here's the full team. At quarterback, we go Baker Mayfield, Michael Penix, Daniel Jones. Glad to have three. I think Jones is the last quarterback you can draft with confidence, and even that is still kind of risky. There's a lot of draft capital invested in Richardson to, try to salvage his career. But then at running back, we got Bijan, Omarion Hampton, Joe Mixon, Tyler Algier, Jalen Wright. My tight end is Travis Kelce at a good ADP value. Fell like 15, 16 picks. And then at receiver, we're rolling with A.J. Brown, Zay Flowers, Chris Godwin, Deebo Samuel, and Brandon Ayuk currently. I need one more receiver. I need two more tight ends. And we have three more rounds, so those will probably be all running backs. At least two are going to be running backs. But this is a 20 round draft, I believe. So yeah, we can go a little bit deep at the position. But not going to take four quarterbacks. I think with Baker, Penix, and Daniel Jones, I don't need four. Strange is available, and I think that's going to be my pick. Strange was pretty valuable when Ingram was off the field, and some of those games were with Mac Jones. We know that Trevor Lawrence likes the tight end position. Um, Ingram had like top 5 targets in the NFL 2 years ago. So he's gone. Strange slots in. I don't think we need the stack to justify Strange. I think he is a very interesting option. And he was like almost at the top ADP when we took Jalen Wright. Higgins hasn't had 1,000 yards since 2022. Yeah, because he keeps missing time. Meanwhile, Mike Evans always disrespected. Yeah, Mike Evans a very good value if he can repeat last year, but his numbers were not quite the same with Godwin on the field. Godwin was definitely their wide receiver one, and so for Evans to be drafted like so far above him, sometimes I don't like clicking Evans at his price sometimes, but he never lets you down. It seems like he'll break Jerry Rice's record this year. He's currently tied to Jerry Rice. But Reflect the Sun, you think Burton has matured and gets more snaps in Higgins' injury, or Yoshiva's still number 3? I think Burton will emerge as the better handcuff receiver. And then I'm going to go K-Dot in here to pair with Baker Mayfield. We don't have Kyle Pitts on the board. Tyler Warren's off the board. And my only stack with Baker is Chris Godwin currently. I'm going to go with K-Dot pretty easily. I want 3 tight ends for sure. With just Kelsey and Strange, I'd like a third. 3-5-5-3. I think there's 4 more rounds left. Yeah, 4 more rounds. And because I have Godwin and Ayuk, I probably grab 2 of each position. Yeah, I'm firmly betting on Jermaine Burton over Yoshivis this year. Yoshivis was nothing that special when he filled in. He actually had better stats in games with T. Higgins on the field than without T. Higgins on the field. Hard to believe, but it is true. I trust elite quarterback play. Jaden Daniels elite. He elevated all his receivers last year. That's a big selling point as well. Yeah, Debo should be fine because Jaden Daniels is just going to make things work. And especially with the Terry holdout looming, if Terry, just gives more practice time to Debo, then their connection not going to be bad. The play calling is really good in Washington. Quarterback plays good. Just feels like a good situation. I think the main risk with Debo is his health. Will he stay healthy or not? And if that's, the only argument, it applies to everyone as well. Football's a dangerous game. But Debo has missed consistent time. Last year was also just like a snake-bitten year in that offense there in San Francisco. But quarterback also has rushing threat ability, so we could have like a Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry effect with Debo getting some rushing touches, like on read option plays. There's that extra beat. You got to wait before you fully commit, because if you are a linebacker that's specifically tasked with spying on Jaden Daniels and he hands it off to Debo, you're not going to get the jump on Debo that you would normally if Brock Purdy was handing him the ball. The rushing really opens up the ceiling on Debo. And I think he's taking like half of Brian Robinson's rushing touchdowns. Cobra asking, what's your Debo prediction for rushing yards and rushing touchdowns this year? Let me make my pick and then we'll pull up his projection. Very. I think just compelled to go with Jalen McMillan because I'm missing points from Ayuk in the beginning of the season too. I think having I would love to have Igbuka, but we know McMillan's going to contribute too. He was very much involved, and Evans is 32 years old. It's not like Evans is guaranteed to stay healthy either. Um, I still think McMillan has value because his ceiling is so high. He was scoring from like 40 yards out almost like every week to close out the year. So we know Baker does trust him somewhat. I think Igbuka's much better, but Igbuka's a bit more of a slot receiver himself. McMillan played pretty well outside. If I didn't have Baker though, I wouldn't really be hyping him up as a great pick. But his ceiling is totally worth a best ball investment. I wouldn't be drafting him in redraft. Let him be a waiver wire guy for sure. But it's round 17. Undeniable upside with the Baker stack. Feels like a good hedge against this Godwin pick. Would rather have a Egbuka though. Okay, so 3 rounds left. Need 2 running backs, 1 receiver, and if Brashard Smith makes it to me, I will take Brashard Smith. But oh yeah, I almost forgot about the Debo. Um, where's the NFL season long? Huh. I'll find it because I want to know what their projection is, and then give you like an over under. I want to find out what they think. Oh, I'm on the clock. Yeah, Brashard Smith will be the pick here. I'm not dying to take. I mean, we could take Dante Thornton. We could take Keenan Allen. I think those are good picks at this spot. I think Keenan is actually much more likely to come back to LA with the Chargers now that Mike Williams just retired. But give me Brashard Smith as a lottery ticket RB6. Yeah, that feels pretty good. Um, hoping Keenan can circle back, but maybe Dante Thornton circles back. Anyway, yeah, show me the Debo fucking. Where is it? Favorites PGA. Da, 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 da. Yeah, because these are all just like week 1 games. I don't want a slate of week 1 projections. Fuck. Yeah, this is weird. Um, anyways, I'd probably predict him at like at least 300, maybe even like 400 rushing yards, and then rushing touchdowns. I think he could at least get 4, possibly get like 7. I think if he finished with like 350 rushing yards and 6 rushing touchdowns, I would not be surprised at all on Debo. I have no idea where these projections are though on Underdog. I never touch them. Um, okay. What? No picks available. How's there no projection on Debo Samuel? There's a prediction on Anyone? Not Derrick Henry. Good night, Reflect the Sun. Have a good one. On the clock. Thornton is there. Did miss out on Keenan. Yeah, I'll stay on brand. I'll go Dante Thornton. Where do you like drafting tight end this year for redraft? I gotta check the other ADPs because if there's no way it's just like Underdog. Underdog has such a weird tight end ADP where it's like you have to pay such a premium for the elite guys, and then it's like such a big discount for everyone past Laporta. Um, if I can get in at that Tyler Warren, Colston Loveland, and David Njoku price, I think that's a really, really good spot. But if not, I will just grab Kittle in the round he's going, even if I reach on him a few picks happily. Um, Running back is what I need here. Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt, just because the time's about to expire. That's our last pick. That's our 20th round pick. Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt. Another investment against Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler. All right, so here's the team: Baker Mayfield, Michael Penix, Daniel Jones, Bijan, Hampton, Mixon, Algier, Jalen Wright, Rashard Smith, Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt at running back. Wide receiver: AJ Brown, Zay Flowers, Godwin, Debo, Ayuk, Jalen McMillan, and Dante Thornton. And then tight end: Travis Kelce, Brenton Strange, and Cade Otton. That's the team. That's how it went. And hoping for the best, but at pick 8, we're behind the 8 ball in general. Maybe we have a good combo, and it lucks out. But that's gonna be it for this video. Live stream is over. It's coming up on midnight, and don't normally stay up this late. But if you joined, if you had a good time, thanks for watching with me, and hope you guys have a good rest of your week. I'll be editing tomorrow, so video is incoming very soon, and look out for that. Ring the notification bell if you don't want to miss out on any future live streams or new content, and subscribe if you're new. Thank you. Hope you enjoy the rest of your evening. Goodbye.